Um, Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Elevate Youth California Youth Substance Use Disorder Prevention Program, Round 6, Standard Track Cohort 6, Funded Partner Overview webinar. We're excited to go ahead and share more about the Elevate Youth California program, the onboarding, and what the expectations for this three-year funding award is. And so before we jump into that, I just wanted to say congratulations on being selected. This round of applications was, we have received the highest number of applications we have. It was a very competitive process. So out of 392 applications that were received, we were able to award 95 partners awards for this cohort. So congratulations on being selected, and we are really grateful for the partnership. And so for those who have been funded partners in the past, welcome back. And those new organizations who are selected this round, congratulations, and we look forward to this new partnership. With that, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, and we'll start off with some introductions. Not with us today is Matt Cervantes, our Associate Vice President of Programs, who oversees and supports with the leadership around Elevate Youth California, as well as a number of other programs here at the Center at Sierra Health Foundation. My name is Pulvinder Kaur. I serve as a Senior Program Officer, and Shira and I lead the day-to-day implementation of Elevate Youth California, and just really grateful to support. I think we're going to be at this in 2025, 200 and just a little bit over 270 funded partners across all of the Elevate Youth California cohorts. And so just really grateful to be in partnership, to support the work that you all have been doing and are doing, and be a partner in this work. And with that, I'll pass it to Shira.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shira Murray, Program Officer with Elevate Youth California. Again, extending a congratulations to you all. We're excited to work with you. I'll go ahead and I'll pass it over to my colleague, Travis.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Travis Wells, Senior Program Associate with the EYC Day-to-Day team. Congratulations, and looking forward to supporting you in your 3-year award. I'll pass it to Antonia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Antonia Gonzalez. Pronouns are they, them. I'm a Program Associate here with Elevate Youth California, and excited to work with new partners and with returning partners as well. I'll pass it over to Gerald.
Hey, everybody. Gerald White here, Program Associate with Elevate Youth California. Huge congratulations for all the great work that has happened and will be happening. And I'm going to pass it over to Evelyn Gonzalez.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evelyn Gonzalez. Pronouns are she, her. I am also very excited for this new cohort. Congratulations. I echo all of the same sentiments that have been shared within our team. Super excited for this new start. Yeah. So gonna go ahead and pass it back to Pulvinder.
Thanks, Evelyn. We'll go to the next slide, and we'll do some introductions for our evaluation team. So some of the staff members and colleagues that you can expect to be in communication with from our end, Maurice Samuels, who's the Managing Director of Evaluation and Learning, along with Noemi Avalos, who's just returned back from her maternity leave. And so we're really excited to have Noemi back and to support the Elevate Youth California program, or continue to support the program. Noemi serves as a Senior Evaluation Officer, and also supporting the evaluation team is Brianna Mattis, who is a Senior Evaluation Associate. And so while our team, the Elevate Youth California team, who you saw on the last slide, will be your primary contact, there's a lot of folks at the center as well as DHCS who support this work. And so wanted to be able to just provide photos and names so that way you're aware who supports the program. We'll go to the next slide. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Sam.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'll add my congratulations. Really thrilled to be working with you all. I'm Samantha Garcia, she, her pronouns. I lead the communications team at Sierra Health Foundation in the center. As the program team has shared, we will be working along with them and all of you to share the good news of your collective work. I'm joined in that effort by Lisa Weir, our Senior Communications Officer, Madison Taylor, our Communications Associate, and other members of our team who are doing work sort of on the back end as your colleagues and partners in this work as well. Thank you for having me join you.
Thanks so much. And then, Chris, I'll go ahead and have you do the CRC updates or introductions.
Hello, I'm Carissa Rogers. I am the contract administrator on this project. So all contract related and insurance items will be handled through me. Joan Cassis is also the managing director of contracts risk and compliance. And then we also have on our team for finance, Lucas Cole, the deputy controller, and then Keith Wilson is going to be the grant accountant.
Thanks, Carissa. And then I'll pass it over to Jessica. And I think Jessica's trying to unmute, but
Hi all.
there
I
we go. We got it.
apologize,
Okay.
having some tech issues over here. And had a problem unmuting. Hi everyone, my name is Jessica and I am the section chief of the program and policy section at the Department of Healthcare Services. The Elevate Youth contract is within my purview, and like we've all mentioned earlier, big congratulations to you all. It was highly competitive and we look forward to getting to know you more.
Thanks, Jessica. And I'll just quickly cover an overview before we jump in. So wanted to provide a welcome, which we have introducing our team. I know a number of funded partners have already dropped in introductions into the chat. So really appreciate, if you haven't, would encourage you to definitely do so. I know it's always a great resource. Folks have mentioned that they've learned of other folks who are doing work in the same region. So definitely a good resource as we first start out. And it's something that we'll continue to do through the next 3 years as well. We'll jump into program background and providing some context to the funding as well as the program. And then we'll share more about our cohort partners and how you can find out more about the partners who are funded through Elevate Youth California. We'll pass it over to Samantha Garcia to cover our communication strategy and more information about all things comms related. And then we'll pass it over to Carissa to talk about the contract agreement process as well as insurance. I know there's already a question in the chat. We're going to hold off on answering them until we get to the sections that we're covering. And we'll be sure to be able to get to all of the questions, even if we have to stay on a little bit longer. We'll also be covering the overview of grant requirements. I know this was included in the request for applications, but just a great reminder at this point to be able to share what the next 3 years would look like in terms of the requirements from that need to be submitted for this specific award. And then we'll end with some important reminders, a handful of sessions that we have coming up, and a number of opportunities that we'll have over the next 3 years for you all as well. And then we'll continue to pause for questions and answers throughout. So after every section, there'll be an opportunity to pause for any questions that we weren't able to answer in the chat. Do encourage folks to use the Q&A option. So if at the bottom of your screen, it should say Q&A with a little question mark. And if you click on that, you can actually drop in a question. And we'll be able to answer that either live or type in a response there. So we do encourage folks to respond there. If not, the comment box will suffice too. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. And
Calvin,
I'll pass it over. Oh, sorry, Jessica, I'll pass it over to you.
no problem. Again, congratulations to all that were awarded. I'm going to give a little bit of background information on how Elevate Youth California is funded. Before I do that, I just want to give some kudos to the DHCS team that's on today. Stephanie, who is the manager of the Prop 64 unit, that's actually on maternity leave. Devyani, Trinice, Diana, and Armina. They are the team that works behind the scenes to ensure that funding is distributed to either our interagency contracts or the center, because there is quite a few different ways that Prop 64 is funded through different agencies. So I just wanted to give them some kudos, and then I'll go ahead and give some background information on the funding. As we all know, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, known as Prop 64, was passed in November 2016. It legalized the possession, cultivation, and adult use of cannabis for persons aged 21 and older in California. 2 excise taxes were established on adult use and medicinal cannabis, a cultivation excise tax and a retail excise tax. These taxes contribute to the Cannabis Tax Fund. 60% of the revenue is deposited into an account known as the Youth Education, Prevention, Early Intervention, and Treatment Account. Again, this account is known as YPETA. The funds in YPETA are administered by the Department of Healthcare Services and are designated for programs aimed at educating youth about substance use, preventing substance use disorders, and mitigating the harm associated with substance use. The programs emphasize accurate education, effective prevention, early intervention, school retention, and timely treatment services for youth, their families, and caregivers. To implement and administer these programs, the department has entered into interagency agreements with 3 state agencies. The Department of Education, previously for child care vouchers, now the Department of Social Services, the Department of Public Health for public education and data surveillance, and the California Natural Resource Agencies to implement youth community access grant programs. The Department of Healthcare Services also contracts with the Center to implement the Elevate Youth California Youth Substance Use Disorder Prevention Program. And again, major congratulations to those that were awarded. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. As you all know, Elevate Youth California is a program of the Department of Healthcare Services funded through Prop 64, California Cannabis Tax Fund Allocation 3, YPETA. The Sierra Health Foundation, also known as the Center, is contracted to support the implementation of Elevate Youth California. This statewide program provides funding and technical assistance for organizations that are developing or increasing community substance use disorder prevention, outreach, and education focused on youth. Palvinder, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share, and thank you to the Center and Palvinder for being incredible partners.
Thanks, Jessica. Really grateful for the partnership with DHCS. For folks who may not know, this is our, or as you probably know with the title Round 6 or Cohort 6, this is our 6th round of funding with the Department of Healthcare Services. And we'll share more about the numbers of award dollars that have gone out and all of that, but it's been a great partnership with the Department of Healthcare Services in ensuring that the funding does go directly to communities that have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. And really just, again, want to highlight the importance of the partnership that we have with all of our funded partners. It is because of our funded partners, we are able to reach communities that have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. For some of our returning partners, or if you've gone to our website and you've seen our past annual reports, our funded partners are able to reach more than 90% of the young people that they engage are youth of color, 2S LGBTQ plus youth. And so really grateful for all of the community-based organizations, tribal organizations who are doing this incredible work. We'll go to the next slide. And so our goal for Elevate Youth California is really around, oh, sorry, we'll go to the previous slide. My bad. Is grounded in social justice youth development. So you'll hear a number of different phrases throughout this webinar, as well as over the course of this award period. And so some of those phrases, terms, which you probably have seen through the RFA, social justice youth development, mentorship, relationship building, peer support. So you'll continue to hear some of those phrases. And so just want to make sure that we're all comfortable with that as well. And so really our goal is to support a statewide network of organizations. And so last year we were supporting 283, I believe, organizations across the state. I think this year with having one round of funding ending and another one starting, we're estimating about 270 funded partners that we'll be continuing to work through with in 2025. And so it is a really great privilege to be able to support this network of organizations who are doing work on youth substance use disorder prevention, education, and early intervention startup activities. As you continue to think about, and I know that we're giving our funded partners all an opportunity to finalize and revise the work plans as needed. Our team will be going through work plans, and we'll share more about that later as well to be able to follow up on those activities as well. And it is really important that we're really thinking about youth substance use disorder prevention, education, and early intervention. And what are those startup activities and our enhancement efforts in low-income urban and rural areas throughout California, and with an ultimate goal of impacting policy systems and environmental change. And so that's all possible because of the statewide network that we have with our funded partners. Next slide. And so our overall goal, we're really looking at youth social justice through mentorship and peer support, focusing on communities that have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. When the Elevate Youth California program was first designed in 2019 before the launch, and the first grants were made in 2020, it was really with the intention to prioritize communities that had been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, knowing that the war on drugs had specifically targeted communities of color, low income, rural communities, Native and tribal communities. We're really wanting to make sure that we're reinvesting in those communities as well. And so some of those examples of programming: youth-led organizing, student civic engagement, campaigns to address a school or community concern, efforts to change a social condition through public policy. One of the really great opportunities and why I absolutely love this program is because we give our funded partners an opportunity to determine what those goals are. So you have the unique opportunity to determine what are the activities, what is the programmatic approach, of course, within the parameters of Elevate Youth California. So social justice, youth development, substance use disorder prevention, education, early intervention. But what are those activities that you want to implement with your communities and with the young people that you serve? And so, and why I appreciate this program is that each organization is able to determine their policy goal as well, thinking about the protective factors, the risk factors that are related to the young people that they're serving. And so our funded partners across the state, while some of them do have similar policy goals, similar program approaches, they're not all the same. And so we're really grateful for our funded partners to understand the communities that they serve and have that track record and history as well. Go to the next slide. So when we're talking about prevention, we're really, again, just a friendly reminder that we're thinking about prevention in the broadest means possible, really thinking about activities that promote healthy behaviors, reduce risks, build protective factors that either prevent new starts of substance use or mitigate consequences and contributing factors that are often associated with substance use. And so really thinking about that approach, as well as harm reduction. So knowing that the age range for Elevate Youth California is ages 12 to 26. We know that legally young people can engage in some substances at 18 and then 21. Really thinking about harm reduction as well. So how are we thinking about strategies that seek to reduce morbidity, mortality associated with substance use from those who that might be an immediate or feasible goal for? And when we think about harm reduction, really thinking about reducing at-risk, moderate, and high-risk behaviors that are associated with substance use disorder. Next slide. And so as you think about your programs further and you're thinking about the implementation, and again, this is why we give our funded partners an opportunity to revamp their work plans and revisit them after the onset of awards and after you're notified of your award notification, is really so you can think about what, does this still align? What is this going to look like? All of that. And so really thinking about those implementation strategies, and your projects must contain an aspect of youth-led civic engagement and at least one other mentorship and or peer-led support and leadership program. So while you don't have to have both mentorship and relationship building, so you could have mentorship, relationship building, or peer-led support and leadership programs, we have seen many of the programs do both. And so really thinking about how do we develop the next generation of young people to really lead those changes that they seek to see in their communities. And so really the goal of our funded partners, we really see folks being really sort of being able to provide an opportunity for young people to develop those skills, the knowledge, the resources to be able to lead the change that they want to see happen. And so and I have a previous experience as a youth organizer and community organizer, and I know that sometimes it's so much easier as adults to do the work ourselves, but it is so much more valuable when we provide that resource, knowledge, skills to the young people directly. And that is really the goal of Elevate Youth California. Our hope is that funded partners are really thinking and leaning into young people determining those goals, being able to think about what are those strategies and changes that they want to see and implementing them as well. Next slide. And then we'll go into our list of funded partners. So on our website on elevateyouthcalifornia.org, elevateyouthca.org, you can see a list of all of our funded partners, and they're listed by track. You can go ahead and see all of the partners in your cohort. Specifically, if you go ahead and go to the program impact page, and then you go down to standard track, and you can select cohort 6, and you can see all of the funded partners that are in that in this specific cohort, and then you can go to other cohorts and see all of the funded partners that are there as well. There is also a map, which we'll be sharing as well in just a few slides. And then I'm going to go ahead and show, if we can go to the next screen, we can be. And so this is a quick screenshot of our website. And so this is where you would be able to see all of the list of funded partners by their specific cohort. On this tab, there is also a filter, our program filter tool. So if you were really curious on if you hover over program impact or click on it, the last option is a program filter tool, and that tool will be able to allow you to go ahead and pick different areas. So you could either do it by cohort, you could do geographic region, you could do demographics, specifically race, ethnicity, age that is being engaged with young people, and also specific demographics of if you're looking at other partners who are doing work with systems impacted young people, with immigrant youth. And so there's a number of different filters that are on that page. And so you can see all of the partners in your cohort as well as across all of the cohorts as well. So just a nifty tool, and we'll share more about that and probably do a walkthrough in a future session as well. And we'll go to the next slide. And so your cohort is joining, their 6th round of funding, but through that there has been a number of other tracks. So to date, Elevate Youth California has awarded a total of 460 grant awards. Our funded partners have been able to reach 56 California counties, and we've done some targeted outreach in the 2 counties that are remaining. And while some of our partners do work in those specific counties, just acknowledging that a higher county coverage in those regions. And so to date, $323 million of funding has gone out directly to community-based and tribal organizations across the state. So joining a vast network of Elevate Youth California partners, and just really grateful for all the work that is happening. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'll take some questions. I see there's some questions about work plans and all of that. And I see some folks who are answering as well. So I appreciate folks who are staying on top of that. And I know we'll get to some of this a little bit later, but work plans revisions, we did ask for them to be submitted by January 10th. Thank you, Natalie, for dropping in that date. I will confirm with my team, feel free to drop in if there is a different date. If you need more time, just send us an email and let us know that you do need an extension. I will mention that the priority will be, some of you have already probably received an email from our team asking for a revised budget. We have received most of those. And then over the course of the next week, you'll be receiving an email from one of our team members letting you know about if there's any edits that need to be made. And then that goes into the contracting timeline. We anticipate that depending on how quickly our funded partners get back the finalized budgets, we would be able to send out contracts. So we don't anticipate contracts really going out until the end of January. It would require us to be able to have the finalized budgets, and we're still working on doing the initial reviews, and then we'll be asking some follow-up questions as there is additional information from the justification or budget that does need to be made for a number of our partners. I'm going to hold off on this second question about, there's a second question about revised work plans, all of that. We're going to, we'll go into that in a little later during the webinar, and so I'll hold off on that side as well. And then there is another question about the template for the work plan. Yes, it's the same template. So, we didn't reshare with partners, but it would be the same template that you had submitted in the application. So if you are looking to revise or make any changes, especially because a number of funded partners were awarded a lower amount than what they had requested in their application, that was really the opportunity to provide an updated work plan, because your number of activities, youth engaged, may have changed, or I would say what should likely change if you are receiving a lower award amount. And so Again, we'll share more about all of that information in just a bit. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Samantha for our comms overview.
Hi, everyone. It is at the center's communications team. We work really closely with the program team on a number of projects over which we may overlap, things like trainings and various storytelling and narrative projects. And we find that we are often looking to hear directly from you about the good work that you're doing in your communities, and that is usually mutually beneficial because you're anxious and excited to share your stories too. So we'd love to partner on sharing what your work looks like in your community, what the network, the power of the network across the state, across this and other cohorts. And so we'd love to hear from you if you would like to serve as a spokesperson for your work, as you have stories, photos, videos, any media coverage you receive. We'd love to uplift that on our social media, on our website, and newsletter, reports, etc. And we also love to share any of your public announcements, social media. We'd love to uplift. So we really want to be your partners as well in talking about what Elevate Youth California can achieve together and what you're doing in your communities that is reflective of what your communities need and why you have been entrusted with being a partner in this work. So we can go to the next slide. We want to provide you with tools to be able to do this. We know often that new cohorts are looking to sometimes make their own public announcements about having received this award and about what it means to be part of this, this cohort. So we will be sending out shortly a toolkit that contains, it's a very simple toolkit that contains some social media templates that you can use, some captions with draft language that you can, use as a foundation to talk about your work. And we also would love to see your press releases before they go out. We're happy to provide, some tools there as well. And we know that it can be really valuable to have just another set of eyes on that. So we like to offer that as a partner in this work as well. DHCS would love to and needs to see your press releases before they go out as well. This is really important for the center and DHCS to see those press releases, primarily so we can help make sure that you've got the information that you need to be able to talk about the work and reflect what it looks like across the state. So we want to be, again, your partners in making sure you've got that. And on the next slide, you can see that we'll also include in the toolkit some additional language so that you can get that sort of funding statement right, make sure that you feel confident that you're talking about the work and the program using the right language. So we can go to the next slide so you can see what that looks like. We've got a full funding statement that explains, the relationship between Elevate Youth California as a project of the center under contract with DHCS and how it relates to Prop 64. We know that sometimes you won't have space to, use this full language, and so we provide a shortened version as well. Again, please consider us your partners in this work. We'd love to provide whatever support we can, and we want to be we want to uplift your work. So again, all we ask is that you reach out when you've got great news, when you need support, and also when you are if you are looking to celebrate your partnership on Elevate Youth California, please send us send our way your press releases. We'd love to review them. We'll send them through to DHCS as well, and then you'll have the full, support of both teams. We can go to the next slide. I've got some contact information so you know how to reach us. Again, I am just one member of the communications team that is working with you all. And so this communications@shfcenter.org email reaches all of us. So you'll hear back from one of us. And then you please copy the Elevate Youth California general email as well so that they know that what you're looking for in case it's something that another team member can support you with. I think that's it for me. Please let me know if you have any questions. And Pulvinder, if there's anything I missed, please let me know.
Yeah, That was perfect, Sam. We have a few questions. I'll try to field some of them. And so there's a question about just how to share. And I think someone had asked about a newsletter submission template. I don't believe we have did you mention a newsletter? I don't think we have a newsletter submission template. And so what if you have a highlight and update as you continue, as your program launches or as you continue through with your programming for Elevate Youth California, you have an opportunity to go ahead and be featured on a future Elevate Youth California newsletter. So there was, I think, someone had mentioned that they love the newsletters in the chat. And so every month, the EYC team will go ahead and prepare a newsletter. We'll share about our upcoming technical assistance, office hour sessions. We always invite funded partners to go ahead and share updates about programming activities. So you're more than welcome to email the Elevate Youth ca@shfcenter.org email with your updates and say, hey, we'd love to be featured on a newsletter or do a collaborative social media post, and a member of our team will go ahead and reach out. We don't have a specific template. We just do ask that it is kept brief to 2 to 3 sentences, because our newsletters can get really lengthy with just all the resources that we're providing. And then, of course, we ask that you do send over a photo just so that we can make it more engaging. So no template on that end. And then every newsletter that goes out, at the very top of it, it says if you'd like to be featured, make sure to submit your updates by the 5th of the next month. And then that way we can look to add you there. And so outside of the newsletter, there's also opportunities to be able to collaborate on social media posts, specifically Instagram. It's probably our most active social media channel. As we've seen, that's been the most active for funded partners as well. You're more than welcome. So if you don't already, go to your phones and follow Elevate Youth CA. We are pretty active on there. If you tag us on posts, we typically do reshare them on our stories, as well as to look to collaborate on posts. We do ask that you you reach out to us in advance on collaboration posts, just because we want to make sure that all of the language does align with the language that we'd use for Elevate Youth California. But again, sometimes that doesn't always happen. And so we're a bit flexible on that, but do encourage you to reach out in advance, and we can definitely look to do that. I'm always happy to share our partners' successes as well as upcoming activities and events. There's another question about photos. So over the next few weeks, you'll get some emails about photos as well. It's really, I think, at the progress report, but we'll go ahead and send it actually in a communication. Prior to that, we'll go ahead and share our Memory Fox link. We do ask our partners to submit their photos to Memory Fox. That's just a tool that we use to be able to collect photos from all of our funded partners, to be able to know who's submitting them, which cohort, which partners, organizations are submitting those photos. And so that's an opportunity to submit photos directly. You can do those at do that at any time. And again, we'll share that link a bit later. And that's another opportunity to go ahead. We do use those photos in our communication. So some of our presentations, our materials, our annual report we'll take direct photos from our funded partners. There is another question. Do you have a comms partner form? We don't have a form. If you, Aisha, if you want to clarify via chat, feel free to, but we don't have a form. We just ask that all of the requests come in over email. Again, as Samantha mentioned, all public press releases do need to be approved by DHCS's Office of Communications. So there is a question in the chat about this. What's the turnaround time for press releases? Press releases, because those are reviewed by the DHCS's Office of Comms, I would say it would be at least 1 week, if not longer. We'll definitely communicate and share with you if that can be done quicker. But we do ask that you send those as soon as possible, and do provide a bit of leeway in advance. And please note that DHS has requested that all press releases must be reviewed before by their Office of Comms. And so just want to reiterate that. And so it can take up to, I would say, about a week. It might be a little bit longer than that, but again, our team would look to do a quick review, and then we'd pass it on to the Department of Healthcare Services for their review as well. There's another, so I think I answered some of this question. So how do we share our stories and news of the work? It would be best to share it over email. You're also able to tag us on Instagram if you are utilizing that platform. But again, elevateyouthca@SHF Center would be your primary email. And I'll say this, and you're going to hear this over the next 3 years so many times. if you are sending any communication about your Elevate Youth California award, always, always, always copy the Elevate Youth California email. It doesn't matter if you're sending it to me or to one of our colleagues, whether it's to communications or finance, but we just always ask that you include that email. That ensures our entire EYC team is able to access that inbox and make sure that you, one, get a timely response and your email goes to the correct folks. If we do ask that you always include that email on all correspondence to the center regarding your EYC award. There is a question about a standard media release form that you can use. We do have a media release form that we have shared in the past, and so we can look to get that out again as well. So thank you for that question. So our team will make a note about this as well, and we'll look to get that resource out. Another question about program marketing, outreach flyers, materials. Would we be able to add the funding source statement on and Elevate logos? And if so, we need to send these out before we go public. Great question. I really appreciate this question. So a few different things here. After this call, as Samantha mentioned, we'll be sharing our social media toolkit as well as the logos for Elevate Youth California. If you, a handful of our partners who are returning very comfortable utilizing the logo, our branding guidelines are included. As long as you are following the branding guidelines on graphics or social media posts, we do not need to see them. If you are new and you're just wanting to be able to make sure that you're following it, you're using, the correct borders, spacing, all of that, you're more than welcome to send us any requests for review. We can typically turn those around within a few days here at the center's end. Those will not need to be reviewed by DHCS as just those marketing outreach flyers. It's just the press releases that do need to be shared to the Department of Healthcare Services. And yes, please consider including the EYC logo, the funding statement. We do have a short and abbreviated funding statement, and if you're not able to put it on a flyer or a graphic, you can always put it in the caption. Hashtag Elevate UCA, as our comms toolkit, you'll see that it includes it. Just some really great opportunities to be able to elevate the EYC work specifically as well. And so again, marketing outreach flyers materials do not need to be, they don't necessarily need to be approved, but if you are looking for just a second pair of eyes, we'd be more than happy to look over it. If you are creating any branding guidelines or any branding materials or branding any materials, if you're going to create any shirts, any sort of promotional items, so shirts, any of that sort of stuff, we do ask that you do send that over to us for review, just so that way we can make sure that the logo, the colors, all of that does align with the EYC branding. That is a bit more specific, and so we want to make sure that those items are reviewed. So, and I would just encourage also to have that sent over to our team here at the center. I think with that, we got through all of the comms related questions. Thank you, Samantha. And as Samantha has mentioned, if there are any questions, feel free to go ahead and email both of these emails, and especially with those press releases, we're more than happy to review them. And we could go to 2 slides later. And our next section, we'll go ahead and have Carissa Rogers go ahead and cover our contract agreement process as well as insurance requirements. I know we've gotten a handful of emails. So Chris, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, hello everybody again. So I'm just going to briefly go over the contract process and insurance requirements. So like Paul Vendor had mentioned previously, you guys will be receiving your contracts probably towards the end of the month. You will receive those via Conga Sign with a link to the subrecipient agreement. You'll just want to click on that link, review your agreement, sign it. And then once it is fully executed, so you guys will sign, then it'll go to our president, she will sign, and then you guys will all receive a executed copy automatically once that's done. And then the other part of your contract is going to be your insurance. So you all should have received an email via TrustLayer yesterday afternoon. If you didn't, you can go ahead and email me, and I'll leave my email in the little messaging box, and I can go ahead and send that over to you guys again. Okay, so insurance documents. So as soon as you guys get the trust layer email, you can go ahead and start submitting your COIs and endorsements, but we do require that you submit those within 30 days of executing your agreement. You do need to maintain this throughout the duration of the 3 years. So if it expires, we need you to renew it and re-upload. If you need the link sent to you again, just reach out to me and I can go ahead and send that to you. If you have any difficulties getting any of the insurance requirements, again, you can reach out to me and so you'll want to email the insurance compliance, but you can also directly email me just so it's 2 sets of eyes kind of looking at it and a faster response you'll get. And then additional insureds need to be written as exactly stated in your contract. Again, you guys won't have your contracts until the end of January. So if you want to email me, I can give you that language ahead of time. So the first set of insurance requirements is going to be your CGL, your commercial general liability. Each occurrence needs to be at least 1 million, and your general aggregate and completed products operation aggregate needs to be at 2 million. We do have a couple endorsements for this one. So that's going to be your primary non-contributory endorsement as well as your additional insured endorsement. So when we are talking about the endorsements, we do actually need a copy of that endorsement. It cannot just be listed on your COI that you have it. We do need the endorsement itself. Your next set of insurance is going to be auto. And that's going to need to apply to owned, hired, and non-owned autos. And the single limit needs to be at least 1 million. And again, another additional insured endorsement for that one as well. If you have any difficulties obtaining auto, or you maybe do not have any auto that you're using within this project, reach out to me and I can help you with a way around that. As well as workers' comp. If you don't have any W-2 employees, reach out to me. But for workers' comp, you will need employer's liability, liabilities disease, and then liabilities disease for each policy. All of those need to be at least 1 million. And then your last endorsement is going to be the waiver of subrogation endorsement. And then the last insurance requirement is going to be your professional liability. So you need to have a limit of 1 million with an aggregate of at least 2 million. Sierra Health Foundation does need to be listed as a certificate holder. And then there is some language on the screen that needs to be listed down in the description of operations on your COI. And then this is just a little sample COI. So this is what we are looking for: a certificate of liability insurance to be uploaded in TrustLayer along with the endorsements. TrustLayer is AI kind of initiated, I guess. And if you upload anything besides a COI, it doesn't read it. So we can't accept a declaration letter. We can't accept your premium like payment, none of that. It has to be the COI. And then one other thing that I wanted to mention is that when you upload your documents, the next day, if you don't receive an email from TrustLayer saying that you are compliant, it is most likely because we're still missing something. So you'll want to go back into the link and click in there and it'll show you exactly what you're missing. So if you don't receive that compliant email, it's most likely because you're missing something and you're still not compliant.
So there's a few questions we've got. So I'm going to go with one of the questions. So with regards to professional liability, there's an appointed partner who has not had this covered recently or previously. They do have a quote, but the effective date will be sometime this week, not January 1st or 4. Will this be an issue?
No, that's fine.
Thanks. And then will you explain the endorsement and repeat that part again? And if we could go back to the slide for the endorsement. So the previous 2 slides earlier.
Yeah, so there's a couple different endorsements. So there's 4 different endorsements. 2 of them are under CGL, so that's your primary non-contributory endorsement, and then your additional insured. And then under auto, you also have an additional insured listing us, Sierra Health Foundation, the center, the state as additional insured, and then workers' comp, you have your waiver of subrogation endorsement. So those are all separate documents. They're usually not provided like when you just submit for insurance. The insurance agency will just give you a COI. You have to specifically request for those endorsements. And then if the insurance broker is still having problems with getting those endorsements, if you email me, I can send you examples of what those endorsements look like and what we're looking for.
Chris, another question, I can take this one. Can the language for additionally insured be sent to all funded partners? Yes, we have sent over all of the EYC 6. It's been an attachment on the last 2 emails that have gone out. We'll also go ahead and resend the document as well that lists all of this specific information as well as the additional insured in the email that goes in after this call. And that gets to another question, which is, do we get a copy of these slides? Yes, you'll get a copy of the slides as well as the recording of the webinar. There's another comment about if they haven't received a trust layer email. So if you haven't received a trust layer email, feel free to go ahead and email us at Elevate Youth California. I would say if you don't receive a trust layer email by this Friday, because we are updating some of the emails based off of the survey, the contact survey information. If you do not receive a trust layer email by Monday of next week, go ahead and send us an email with the correct email and name of the staff member who should be receiving that. The way that trust layer is set up is that we do send it out to one person, or if so that's just typically how it goes out, but we can change that at any point and add in other additional people as well. So again, we just ask that if by Monday, if you haven't received your trust layer email, to go ahead and send us an email. We're making some adjustments from the contact survey information because we did ask who's responsible for grant administration, including insurance requirements there. Another question, what if we already have submitted insurance for other grants? Do we need to do it again, or would we need to resubmit separately? This is a great question, Chris. I think I can answer this based off my knowledge, but let's see. Each of our awards and that are, if you have received another a contract or a subcontract or award from the center at Sierra Health Foundation, the agreement number is going to be different. So there is going to be that funding may not be from the Department of Healthcare Services, and specifically, we go to 2 slides earlier, there is the agreement number that needs to be listed on this specific COI, and so you would need to resubmit your insurance certificate to include this agreement number as well as the additional insured that specifically relates to this funding opportunity. So if you have received funding from the center outside of it, there may not be additional insurance that you need to add on. It may just be that it's likely that you just need to go ahead and make sure that the Department of Healthcare Services, as well as the state of California, as well as the agreement number is present. And let me see. I know Carissa dropped in the chat her email. We've also shared over email the insurance compliance email, and we'll go ahead and follow up on that. Similar to Carissa's email, do encourage you to, as Carissa mentioned, to include insurance compliance as the team is able to look at that inbox, and then always copy the EYC email. Another question about I'm showing compliant in trust layer. We provided everything, but I didn't receive an email. Yeah, you're likely not going to receive an email unless you're not compliant. So we'll go with that route. Typically, that's how we operate with just the high number of funded partners. If everything is in good standing, if trust layer is showing that you're compliant, if for any reason you are not compliant on trust layer or on any of your other requirements, we'll go ahead and follow up via email and ask for you to submit the additional information and share specifically what is missing. And so after subcontracts go out, that is when we'll be prioritizing review of insurance throughout this time frame. But I would say at the time that subcontracts go out, we'll start to routinely send out information saying that you're not compliant with your insurance requirements. And then you probably from there on, you'll probably receive an email from us every 2 to 3 days saying you're not compliant or you haven't executed your contract. So we do our due diligence and follow up on that end. But you would not receive an email from us saying that you are compliant unless you were specifically asking to check in on that.
Just real quick. So yes, that is true on your guys' part, but TrustLayer will send a notice, like once they submit all their COIs and they are compliant, within a day or two, it will automatically send them an email letting them know that they are compliant.
Thanks, Krista. So you
Uh-huh.
should receive some communication, or at least TrustLayer should say that you're compliant on that, right? And that communication should be the same.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you, Carissa. Okay, and I think that gets to all of our insurance related questions as well as contract related questions. And so just a reminder, we will share the webinar slides as well as the recording. We'll go ahead and share the comms toolkit as well as the insurance requirements after this session as well. So over the next few days, we'll go ahead and send a follow-up email to all of those who are on this call, as well as all of the contacts that have all of the partners that have been included in the contact survey. Krista actually lied. There's one more question. Did we need a waiver of subjugation I think it should be subjugation.
Yes, waiver of subrogation, you need that under workers' comp.
Perfect. And again, we'll be sending out those insurance requirements again as an attachment. So do keep an eye out on it over email. And I do think actually a member of our team might be able to drop it as a file right now too into the chat. So we might be able to just ease that for folks right now too. So if one of our EYC team members wouldn't mind dropping that in, that would be great. If we could drop in the PDF of the EYC 6 insurance requirements. Okay, we're going to keep going so we can try to get out of here on time. We're going to cover overview of grant requirements. So this is what you can expect over the next 3 years. And so we've gotten some questions around this already, but wanted to be able to provide some clarity on this up front. So once we receive your receipt of agreement or your subcontract is fully executed and your insurance compliance requirements are fulfilled, you would then be receiving your first payment. And so with this round, we are doing 35% of the total award amount would be paid in your first payment. So again, as I mentioned, we probably will, a good timeline would be to say that most of the subcontracts will go out by the end of January. Again, that is contingent upon all funded partners revising and making the necessary revisions to their budgets before they can go into the contract. So we want to make it very clear we try to do as timely of a review as possible, but we do know that there are a number of partners who have asked for extensions, or it may take a little bit more time. And so it really does depend on how quickly you get back those budgets to us and how accurate and how complete they are as well. After agreements go out, it really depends on how long it takes your organization signatory to sign the agreement as well as ours. Usually our team will sign within a few days as long as they're not out on vacation or out on leave. But it will take, I would say, about a week for that total. I would say definitely prioritize also during this time securing your insurance requirements. So that way, once your agreement is executed, fully executed, we can go ahead and process payment. You're going to also receive, and I think I might cover this a little bit later about ACH, but in our email communication, we've also communicated about signing up for ACH, so electronic payment. We do encourage you all to go ahead and sign up for ACH or electronic payment. It is the safest way to receive your payment instead of via check. There is a process for that, so we ask that you do revisit the email, and we'll include that email in future communications as well. The second payment, and so this is a deliverable-based payment, so a payment schedule, and so that means that subrecipients are paid based off of meeting contract deliverables. So for example, the first payment is going to be upon the execution of the agreement and insurance compliance, and as you know, this is not a reimbursable award, so we are responsive. We are on a responsive payment schedule, being mindful of trying our best to not have partners have to pay that funding up front from their own organization. And so trying to get this as quickly as possible, but you will see that there may be a few months where that is, we've been mindful around how the distribution of payments are done as well, based off of past Elevate Youth California funding patterns. And so just want to be mindful of that. The second payment, so at the end of your first year and the beginning of your second year next January, you will be required to submit your progress report. So your second progress report, your second financial report. At this time, the cadence for progress reports and financial reports are every 6 months. There is a question in the chat about the due dates. We will share the due dates as well. And I believe we cover them in a slide a little bit later for that specifically. And so we'll share that out as well with funded partners. And so once those two final reports the progress report for the end of year 1, as well as the financial report for end of year 2 is complete, and that we have a final work plan, we can go ahead, once those reports are reviewed and approved, we can go ahead and approve and process the second payment. So as you can tell, your award started January. Next January 31st, you would be receiving you would be submitting your second payment. So while it would take into the second year to receive your second payment. Again, it is important that all funded partners are submitting the reports as accurately and thorough as possible to be able to limit the number of reviews and revisions that are needed to be able to receive your payment faster. And so that second payment would also be 35% of your award. And into the third year, is the start of the third year, we would be able to provide, after you submitted the next 2 reports, as well progress reports and financial reports, we would be providing 25% of the award amount total. And then at the end of your award, so let me see, hopefully I get this correct. In January of 2028, you would be submitting your final reports. And at that time, once everything is finalized, you will receive the final 5% of your award amount. So there is 5% of the award that is held towards the end of the award period. So we do want to acknowledge this. I think it is very, very important for your organization to understand the payment schedule. We often have gotten questions from funded partners because they might be tight on cash flow. So it is important to be able to have conversations internally about this. Again, this payment schedule was shared in the request for applications as well. And so when you did apply for the funding, this was shared. And again, we are grateful that this is not a reimbursable payment, but we are trying to be as responsive as possible. And so there is a question in the chat that does ask, will we need to spend down all funds before we complete the final report to receive the final 5%? Yes, that is correct. And part of the reason is also because not all partners do spend down the money. So it does become a little bit, we want to confirm that all partners have also spent that funding down and all deliverables are submitted as well. A few questions about ACH, and I think some of our team members are responding back to individuals directly, but you don't need to resubmit ACH if you're unless your banking information has changed. So if you have received a payment from the center or Sierra Health Foundation, I would say within the last year or 2, or your banking information hasn't changed, that information would be the same. For our EYC3 partners, I will say that unless you received our EYC3 returning partners, if you did not receive the program extension award or funding, and that would be your confirmation. The prior payments were made externally through bill.com, which we are no longer using. And so I will also say in about the next week or so, we're going to be sending out an email to all of the funded partners who are not signed up for EACH. And so we'll send an email out specifically to those partners, letting you know that you're not signed up for ACH, and that if you'd like to do so, that you can do so, and to confirm your correct address. So that way we have that if you do prefer to receive a check. So we'll be getting individual confirmation from all of the partners on that end as well. We do have a process for, there's a question in the chat. We do have a process for ACH if you're concerned about banking information via unsecured email. We can speak to you over the phone about this, but we do have a process. It's to ensure that there isn't any additional fraudulent or phishing activity that's involved in this process. But again, we do confirm information also with a phone call afterwards. So we share that process in advance when you are signing up for ACH. If you have any questions, further questions, feel free to email us and we'll try our best to be able to accommodate. Another question, and we'll get to this shortly, there is a template for the financial reporting as well as progress reports, and we'll have sessions later this month that cover both of those templates as well. We're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, this is an overview of all of those requirements. So we really encourage you. I know that there's a January 10th date for the work plan revisions. If you need an extension, go ahead and email us, letting us know that it's going to take you a little bit longer to get back your work plan revisions. And we'll go ahead and work with you to get that squared away. But your first requirement before we even finalize the subcontract agreements and insurance or you might be doing that already, is your work plan. It's important to be able to have a final work plan before you begin your work, and ensuring that you'll receive an email that our team has reviewed it. Shira will be leading from our team the work plan review, and so you'll receive an email directly from her or a member of our team that that may ask for additional revisions. And then you'll also receive an email that the work plan has been finalized and approved. We are on a biannual reporting schedule, so every 6 months you'll have reports due, and they'll be aligned in the same timing. So just great to remember, January 31st, and I believe it's July, the end of July 30th, 31st, is when your reports are due for Elevate Youth California. So reports are due 1 month after the reporting period. And so at the end of January and July, you'll receive or you'll need to submit both of those reports. And then in addition to the financial report, and we'll cover this in a training later, there is also a detailed expenditure listing that does need to be submitted. And then at the very end of your award and year 3, we'll go ahead and share the questions that we ask in the cumulative review. Those questions don't need to be aggregated or, additional information doesn't need to be pulled from the start of it. There are just some final questions that you would already have the answer to based off of your program that you've implemented. That includes both quantitative, qualitative progress report questions directly related to your programming, as well as financial questions as well. In addition to the reports that are submitted, we do ask that all funded partners are required to attend 2 in-person convenings, and more information will be shared about this as they're finalized each year. And so you'd be required to attend, have at least one staff member attend 2 in-person convenings over the 3-year award period, and attend virtual technical assistance sessions. Within the first 6 months, we are requiring all UIC funded partners to attend a lobbying versus advocacy training. This will ensure that your organization and staff are aware of the differences between lobbying and advocacy. No lobbying activities or any funds can be used for lobbying for Elevate Youth California. So we want to make sure that all of our funded partners are aware of the difference on this aspect for their UIC award. In addition to that, we are asking also that all organizations attend a minimum of 5 virtual trainings and our office hours annually. I will tell you there are ample opportunities. We have networking opportunities regularly, office hour sessions for progress reporting, and nearly monthly, if not more frequently, technical assistance sessions as well. And so we are asking that your organization participate in at least 5 of those as relevant to your team. In addition, in your 3rd year, you would be participating also in an external evaluation, and we'll have more information about that as well. And that would, at this time, I will go ahead and share that would likely consist of engaging youth have participated in your program in a youth survey. But we'll have more information about the external evaluation a bit later. And I'm going to quickly try to go through the next few slides about reporting. Again, over the next few weeks, we're going to have some trainings that cover the reports in detail. So for our progress report, what you can expect is quantitative data around your partnerships demographics. It is very important to to be able to have data around who you're partnering with. We'll share more about this in the training, and demographics of the young people that you're engaging in, as well as the program events and activities that you're engaging in. And then there is a narrative component to the progress reports that includes participant outcomes and progress towards your policy goals and programmatic goals as well. And so really allows us to be able to share the incredible work that all of our funded partners are doing. We have revised over the last 4 years, I think this template 3 times, I want to say, if not 4. We have been mindful of partner feedback. We have been using this template for the last this past year. And so we do really utilize all of the data for that is submitted in the report itself. And there will be a template that will be shared, and we'll go ahead and share that prior to the training that we'll have for the progress report later this month. So we will share that information as well. We'll go to the next slide. There is also a biannual financial report. We have a template for this as well. And in that template, you would be able to show your approved budget and then show all spending within the reporting period as well. And so that is also known as a detailed expenditure listing. And it is important for your organization to keep the supporting documentation. So while we aren't asking for receipts and the additional documentation for each of the expenditures that you've had for your EYC award, and if you are selected for a desk audit, that information would be may be needed. And so it is important for you to keep all supporting documentation for expenditures related to your EYC award. So if you spend any money, it's important to be able to have a receipt or to have documentation on where that funding was spent and how it was provided. And the next slide, we'll go ahead and share just a brief template about the financial report. It does not have the detailed expenditure listing. So there's a few tabs at the bottom. And again, we'll share more about that in the next few weeks once we cover the financial report template. And we will share both templates prior to the sessions as well, just so that way you can see it prior to the training sessions. Next slide. Do want to mention that for the detailed expenditure listing, and we'll dive deeper into this later, it's really about line item details. So, yes, you would have to relay if you have staff who are on your program every biannual or biweekly. If I were on an EYC funded award, I get paid every 2 weeks. So if I was in that 52-week period, or that month period, or that year long report, or actually they're 6 months, sorry, you would be able to see 12 line items for myself because I would be paid every 2 weeks or bi-monthly. And so that is the level of detail that we're looking at. So every time you make a purchase for your award, that is the sort of level of detail that we're looking in the financial report itself. It should have the budget category. So all of the expense items should be related to a budget category, the date that the item or the date that the expenditure occurred, the amount, the vendor, the event, the expense description. And so it is important for your organization to have separate accounting. So if your organization does not have separate accounting for your Elevate Youth California award, it is very important to be able to set that up as you start to expend funds for Elevate Youth California. Receipts, invoices, and time cards, we do encourage you, we do ask that you have those available, and if you are selected for a desk audit, that would be required. There's a comment in the or question in the chat. I'm assuming bank statements aren't sufficient. Yes, that is correct. Bank statements would not be sufficient. You would need to have receipts for the expenditure. So for example, if you went ahead and went to, I don't know, Target, and you were buying some supplies for a youth event that you're going to have, we would need to, if you were selected for a desk audit, and this is again, if you're only selected for the desk audit, we would need to be able to see the receipt for that Target purchase, for example. Additionally, if you were if a payroll line item was selected, you would be able to have the backup in your payroll software to be able to show that the individual was paid out, in fact. again, we'll share more on that end, and we'll dive much, much deeper into that with our finance team, who is much more knowledgeable than I am. And then we're going to go ahead and share the next slide. And I will just cover this briefly, but these are unallowable expenses. These are all listed in the RFA as well. But again, these are unallowable items. Debt requirement, operational deficits, partisan activities, religious organizations for explicit religious activities. I want to just call out a few specific things: purchase of vehicles, purchase, construction or permanent improvement, purchase of property, or directly or indirectly purchasing, prescribing, or providing marijuana or treatment using marijuana is not allowed under the Elevate Youth California award. And so I would say out of these, the most common ones, vehicles, construction, property, are what often come up for partners. And that is why we have to do a very thorough review of the budgets, and we ask for a lot of questions back on the justification to make sure that none of these items are included on there from your end. What we'd hate to have is that you go ahead and believe that you can, spend on this amount, spend on something that's not allowed, and then you go ahead and spend on it, and then we're not able to approve it in your financial report. And I will just say, when in doubt for anything, reach out to us. We're more than happy to go ahead and provide information or clarify any questions. If you ever have a question about, is this an allowable item? Is this an allowable activity? Just go ahead and email us and we'll be able to answer those questions for you. Next slide. And I want to just note just the prior written approvals and guidance that we need. You do need to make sure that all travel follows the Cal HR travel reimbursement guidelines. We'll go deeper on this on the financial call that we have set up. And then I am noticing, unfortunately, the email address here is wrong, but we'll fix that before it goes out. All out-of-state travel does require pre-written approval. So we ask that 6 weeks prior to you wanting to book your travel, you reach out and send us an email. We'll also go ahead and share our out-of-state travel guidance. If you have even included out-of-state travel or mentioned it in your application, mentioned it in your work plan, mentioned it, or have it listed under your travel, but may not be explicit in your justification, even if it's included on there, you must receive an email from the Elevate Youth California team that says that your out-of-state travel is approved. So just want to acknowledge that. And then over the last year, we did have we had partners share some challenges with transportation for young people. So while you are able to go ahead and charge mileage directly for staff or volunteers that are working in your organization directly around mileage, if you wanted to provide an incentive for transportation for young people, for youth, it would be $50 per year per participant. And that would be for rideshare apps or, travel related expenses. So Uber, Lyft, etc. However, if you're paying directly for that information, that can be directly done. We have had some organization do gas gift cards for that for young people, but again, that would be capped at $50 per young person per year. And that was around overcoming transportation barriers. This is separate from the incentives that are provided, which we are also getting clarification on the budget reviews. Any subcontracts that are greater than $5,000, we do ask that you send copies of those contracts for UIC portions that are greater than $5,000 to our UIC finance email, and you go ahead and copy us as well. We are looking to review some of these in the budgets that have been submitted, and we're asking for some additional questions. And so this just means that anytime you have a subcontract that is being sent out or that is going to be done for more than $5,000, that you just go ahead and send us a copy of that contract, or you go ahead and confirm that this is an allowable expense. So again, if you list a subcontract out in your current budget and you know that you plan to consult out, for example, if I were doing my budget right now, we're currently consulting out with Education Northwest for some evaluation TA. I would list that out and I would list their scope of work in the budget. And so that we would go ahead and ask some additional questions if we had questions around it, but that should be fine on that end. But as you move forward on that, if you have any new subcontracts that are greater than $5,000, we do ask that you go ahead and send those copies over, or just send it over a message to EYC Finance and copy the EYC email as well. And then capital purchases are almost always unallowable. So again, purchase of property, all of that. For the amount for subcontracts, that's $5,000 just for the subcontract. It doesn't matter what period of time it is. So if you are engaging in one subcontract that is more than $5,000, we ask that you go ahead and email us. We'll share more information about this on the finance training call. So bring all your questions, and Keith will be more than happy to answer those. We're going to run through the next few slides really quickly. And I keep saying quickly, but I'm trying to make sure that I answer your questions. Want to make sure we get through all the slides, and we'll come back to questions at the very end. And as I mentioned earlier, your cumulative report it'll be very similar to previous reports on the financial end. You won't really see much of a difference. But on your quantitative and your narrative questions, it'll be the same. It's similar to your progress report. And it'll have a few additional questions. Again, we'll share more about that in our progress report training sessions. Thank you, Ange. Thank you for the reminder. And this is one of the questions that came up earlier was around reporting and data requirements. And so no need to take a screenshot of this. We'll go ahead and share it in the slide deck. You'll also receive it in your subcontract. You'll also receive it separately as an attachment as well. And we'll go ahead and share the exact date. So again, you can see that all of your reports are due in July and January respectively. That gives you 1 month after the reporting period to submit your reports. Next slide. So we will share the progress report template, financial report template before the next sessions, and then we'll share the submission process as well in those calls too. And then just one more slide before I pass it over to Shira, and we'll get to all the questions at the very end. So that way we can cover the materials before 2:30, before folks who may have to hop off can hop off. But again, we'll stay on for a bit longer. Budget modification process. So if we understand that program activities might change, there might be some changes that happen, while we want all of our staff to probably stay on, there might be some changes. You might realize that there is a better approach to some of the programming activities, and we want you to be responsive to that. And so budget modifications are allowed at any point over your award period. It is important for you to understand the allowable costs. So you will be only able to shift funds to allowable costs under the funding opportunity. We do have a separate template for this. If you, once we get all the budgets reviewed and finalized, and over the next few months or year, there will always be a budget modification template in your financial report. So at that time, you have the opportunity to go ahead and see if you have a 10% more or change of a section total, and we'll cover this more specifically on the finance call. You can go ahead and submit it in your financial report, but let's say if you wanted to go ahead and add a new line item and you wanted to just make sure that that was going to be approved before you expended to it, maybe your organization policy is to make sure it's on the budget. That would be my policy. I would want to make sure that the funder has agreed to approving that budget line item. I know that that's been the case for a few funded partners. And so if that is the case, you can email us at any time requesting the budget modification template. We'll probably share that after the first few months, just that template separately as well. But you're always welcome to email us at any time. We have seen this very common in the first few months of a program when an organization may have a specific staff title on their budget, but they realize that they need to change that because they're not getting the correct candidate for that. So that's usually the number one reason at the start. Maybe your subcontractors need to change. There's some other changes that need to happen. So you're more than welcome. We want to be as responsive. And so when I say we're in partnership, we really are. We wouldn't want to hold you to the same budget, the same work plan as well. If there are any changes to your work plan or your budgets over the next 3 years, send us an email. If you have any challenges, I will tell you this. If you have any challenges, if there's any additional support or resources that the center or our team at UIC can provide, we're more than happy to provide that for you all. But we do need to know, so that does require you to reach out to us. And so we have supported a number of funded partners over the past 4 years with, things, and that's allowed us to think about technical assistance that we can offer our funded partners as well. And so what I will always say is, instead of not responding to emails, always ask for extensions in advance of a due date. Look to be able to make sure that the items that you're expending on are included in your budget. And if they're not, request the budget modification. If you need to make a change to your work plan over the next 3 years, reach out to us, just talk to us about, just request that you're looking to make a change. We'll likely just hop on a call with you, talk through those changes, make some revisions on the document, and look to approve them. And so we are flexible and responsible where we can be. And so we do encourage you to reach out to us on that end. Similarly, if you have any requests for technical assistance, we invite you to share those with us as well. And we'll go ahead and try our best to be able to provide that technical assistance as well, whether it's us here at the center or through technical assistance consultants. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to hold off on the questions. I know there's a few hands raised, but we're going to hold off on those. I'm going to pass it over to Shira to just cover the last bit of information, and then we'll get to all the questions at the very end.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And you all are welcome to continue to ask questions. You're welcome to use the chat. You're welcome to use the Q&A. During the next few slides, I'll be talking about just opportunities for us to connect during your award period. So we're committed to providing support to funded partners through opportunities to participate in various learning experiences, including in-person technical assistance convenings, virtual webinars and training, as well as office hours to support report submission. We also have virtual networking sessions and learning communities. Technical assistance opportunities are provided to support your onboarding, as well as your program and policy systems and environmental change goals outlined in your work plan. The EYC team hosts monthly networking sessions, which serve as an opportunity for you to engage with other EYC-funded partners throughout the state. Networking sessions are a safe space to share, learn, and to collaborate. You'll also have the chance to participate in virtual learning communities. These sessions deepen connections with partners and explores specific topic areas related to your project. So some of the topics might include evaluation, social justice, youth development, youth engagement, systems change, capacity building, and more. There will also be in-person convenings. And so participation in these convenings are mandatory. And as they arise, our team will share specific information about these opportunities. We can go to the next slide, please. Okay. So this slide covers youth listening sessions. And so all funded partners are required to host a minimum of 1 youth listening session with youth engaging in your program each year. So the expectation is that young people are engaged throughout your project. So that means year-round, and to ensure consistency on messaging in the project, in making sure that it's resonating with young people, annual listening sessions must be held. And so this should be familiar from our RFA, and then also dates for these sessions should also be included in your work plan. So youth listening sessions are defined as a designated time for youth to provide feedback on program strategies and how implementation is going. So this is a unique activity that is apart from regular programming, that is an opportunity to center youth voices. So for some, youth listening sessions may also be called a focus group. So it's very similar to that. So each funded partner is required to conduct 1 annually, as I previously shared, with a total of 3 youth listening sessions completed by the end of the subcontract. So to do this, you may draft a series of questions that seek feedback and input from youth on a specific aspect of the program, including but not limited to program planning, program activities, policies that they may want to focus on, prevention campaigns, program materials, or just youth engagement in general. So listening session can cover multiple aspects, if time allows. As we said before, this is an opportunity to really center young people, to hear from them on how your EYC project is working. And so we hope to see listening sessions as a line item in your budgets, and it should be included in your work plan. So listening session data, including the date, participant count, and highlights will be requested in your annual progress report submission. So be sure that you are highlighting some of those key takeaways. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we are building a community of practice, and we see each of you expanding the network by supporting the work that's being done with young people. So on the screen, you'll see a snapshot of resources and training on the Elevate Youth California website. You can access these using the navigation bar in the upper top right-hand side. Some of the topics that you'll see presented there are substance use disorder prevention and education trainings, policy systems and environmental change, building youth and adult partnerships, strategic planning, communication, evaluation, and more. And so we are also interested in learning about some of your needs and interests. And so we are learning more about that through your application submission and taking that into consideration in the planning of future training. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this slide here talks about partner learning and engagement. So we'd like to again highlight these types of opportunities that are outside of our in-person convenings. As I mentioned before, networking sessions are generally offered monthly with all partners, and we also have cohort-specific opportunities. Participation is encouraged. Ahead of the session, we'll provide you with an agenda, and topics generally focus on programming. So having an opportunity to discuss some of your successes and challenges. We also talk about capacity building around prevention practices, and it is also a great time for you all to get to know other funded partners and to be able to ask questions of those in other cohorts. Webinars are also offered on a variety of topics, and included with those webinars is generally an opportunity for you to engage in a coaching session. So many of our webinars are offered by external providers, external coaches with specific expertise in a topic area. And so you do have opportunities to dive deeper in one-on-one sessions. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so just want to you all to take a look at this snapshot of important reminders. So all EYC expenses incurred after January 1st, 2025 and identified in the approved budget are allowed. As was shared, the first payment will be made upon the execution of the subcontract and securing the required insurances. And then we're encouraging you to just take a look at these bulleted items and making sure that you're staying on top of submitting the updated budget justification if this applies to you, as well as a work plan, making sure that the subcontract is executed, securing insurances, reporting. So on the next slide, I'll share a link for you to sign up for the training that will occur around financial reports, as well as the biannual progress reports. Being sure that those listening sessions are included in your work plan. And then, as mentioned, we'll keep you updated on when in-person convenings are happening. And then we also encourage you to check out resources that are available through our website. We also encourage you to sign up for our newsletter so that you may receive resources that way as well. We can go to the next slide, please. So here on the screen are just our upcoming training. You can see the progress report training will be held Wednesday, January 15th, and the finance training will be held on Tuesday, January 28th. We're also providing these links and more information via email. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. On the screen, you'll see our Elevate UCA inbox. So if you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Even if it's a small question, a big question, it doesn't matter. We encourage you to reach out to our team. And then also you can see our website as well as the center's website on the screen. And I think we have one more slide. It's our thank you slide, but I think we can pause at the previous slide with our email, and then we can pause to see if there are any questions.
Thanks, Shira. There were a few questions. I tried to get them in the chat. So appreciate folks asking questions here. I think we got to, I know we got to some of the questions that were asked in the chat already. Trying to see if there's any new ones. We can put the links for the trainings in this chat. It has also been included on the emails that have gone out. We'll also include it in the emails that's going to go out with following this call as well. And then our team, if someone from our team can, please add in the links here, that'd be great. And then there's another question about access to the community portal. So this is the Salesforce community portal. We'll do a separate session on this. So this will be where you submit your financial report. And so the training or that specific access will be probably provided later this month. And so we'll give you more details on once that's done. Please note that you won't need access to the Salesforce community portal to sign your agreement, any of that. And then the first time that you will need actual access to the portal will be when you submit your first financial report in July. But we will look to go ahead and give access prior to that. Please note, and we'll go ahead and share this once we give access, that CEOs and EDs are directly given access, and then we can provide access for one additional person. Again, we'll share more information about all of that and how you can request additional access, and then sort of the nuance with some of the fiscally sponsored programs. So we can definitely do that. For the insurance document, our team has shared in the chat. They can drop it again. And then we've also shared over email as well. We'll send another follow-up email, and a handful of emails actually this month will include all of the resources, including the insurance requirement resources as well. So we will look to get those to you all, and they're probably in your inbox on our previous one. And thanks, Shara, for dropping it in as well. The team has shared the training dates on this slide, and then I do know that there were two hands up, Raquel and Dan. If you want to come off mute, I'll go ahead and Raquel allow you to unmute yourself to ask your question, and then Dan, I believe you unraised your hand, but we'll go ahead and
yeah, I think that accidentally got marked on my end. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. And then Dan, because I know you had your hand raised earlier, I'll go ahead and allow you to as well, in case you have a question that's coming up as well.
That was actually inadvertent. Sorry about that. But I already submitted my certificate of insurance, but I'm realizing that I didn't put the grant code. And so I'm going to need to retrieve that and have them revise that. So we'll get a note back in the next couple of days saying that you're not in compliance.
So yeah, you can just resubmit. So I think there was another partner who had emailed us, and I don't know, Dan, if that was you, but someone had said that they needed to go ahead and remove an attachment. You would just upload a new attachment. Okay. And so yeah, so we just asked that you upload a new attachment to TrustLayer, and that way that your most recent certificate of insurance is on there, and that would be what we'll be able to flag and view as well.
Okay, we have all the right coverages. We just somehow that didn't get added.
Yeah, not a problem. We'll get that squared away, and appreciate folks, again, because this is going to be the question that comes up, probably the most asked question in the month of February from our end, or from our partners' end, is going to be, when can you expect to receive payment? And we're going to communicate that we've shared, multiple times that we can't process the first payment. There's actually 3 contingencies. So your execution of your contract, which we are working our best to make sure that all funded partners send their revised contracts, make sure that we provide any edits to any revisions that we have. And then that way we can start to process and execute and share those subcontracts from your end for you to sign. And then the other would be the insurance requirements. So having complete insurance requirements. And then the third caveat would be payment from the Department of Healthcare Services. We don't anticipate any delays right now, but if we do, we will definitely communicate that. A good timeline to at this point, if contracts go out by the end of January, it would probably take a week to 2 weeks for parties to sign. And then we would start the processing on our end. The center does have up to 45 days to provide that payment once the requirements are fulfilled. We don't typically anticipate it'll take that long, but it does take another 2 to 3 weeks. So really, a good estimate on when to expect the first payment, if everything is submitted on time, is really at the end of February. That's probably the best estimate at this point. Again, we will be moving as quickly as we possibly can to make sure that that's done as quickly as possible. But I would want to make sure that you have a reasonable expectation on when the first payment would be received. And so end of February, starting end of February, I would say the first few payments would probably be issued. But again, we'll share more information once contracts go out. You'll get routine updates from our end about insurance compliance being met, all of that. And so if you aren't compliant on any of that, you'll receive emails and follow-up from us as well. And so with that, I don't see any other questions that are here. And so just want to provide and just share our thanks. I know we've gone over a bit on this call, but I just appreciate folks for staying on. And again, really want to, end with, again, just the congratulations. As we shared, this was a really competitive round of funding. And so it was a really difficult time, even from our team's end, our reviewers team's end, to go ahead and select the final cohort for Elevate Youth California Cohort 6 Standard Track. We are so honored and privileged to work with all 95 funded partners over the next 3 years. And you'll hear this from myself, Shira, all of our team. Feel free to send us an email if you have any questions. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And we're really here to support you all through this process. And so thank you all, and we look forward to the partnership.